early retirement, I realized there are a lot of things that I didn't expect. Some good, some challenging, and some things just took me by surprise. Hey, I'm Sabado, and in today's video, I'm sharing the 10 things I didn't see coming after retiring early. And if you're thinking about early retirement or you're planning to leave work soon, these might give you the clarity and maybe some reassurance too. So let's get into it. First, the silence hits you. The first thing that surprised me was how quiet life became. I didn't have any alarms. I didn't have any meetings. I didn't have any deadlines. I didn't even have any stillness. I was so used to waking up every day at 5 o'clock in the morning, 6 o'clock in the morning, that I woke up automatically, didn't have my alarm on. But I'll tell you, it felt weird. It was peaceful, but it was strange. And you almost don't realize how loud work life is until the noise stops, until that beat drops. The second thing I experienced was that my body, it took weeks to unwind. And I didn't expect this physical decompression. But after retiring, it was like my muscles, my breathing, and even my sleep shifted. It got better, by the way. And I realized my body had been on work mode for decades, and it finally had a chance to breathe. The third one is, I miss people more than the job. I didn't miss the meetings and the email, but I didn't realize how attached I had gotten to the small talk or the joking around or just those small moments of connection that you have with people, not because you necessarily want them, but because you have to have them because you're spending 10 hours a day with the same people. And I just didn't realize at that point how much built in social interaction work provided. And early retirement really forced me to rebrand that and rebuild that on my own. So instead of talking to people that I have to talk to, I talk to people that I want to talk to. And then this one kind of surprised me. For years, I was the person that people came to for answers. I was the dependable one. I was the leader. I was the fixer. And then one day, that identity, it just dropped. And I had to ask myself, who am I without this job title? And I'll tell you that that's something that a lot of retirees, particularly early retirees, don't expect because we've built our whole lives around being able to solve problems, being able to get things done, being able to figure things out. And then all of a sudden, it's gone. So that's something, prepare yourself for that. And you may find it on the other side, but it's going to take on a different format. And you just have to be ready for it. Not that it's bad, you just have to be ready for it. The fifth one is I became more protective of my time. And this one sticks with me to this day. Before, I used to give time away freely because most of my time wasn't mine anyway. But after retiring, I started valuing my time different. I'm now more intentional about where I put my energy and who I give my hours to. My time now is more precious. I understand, and it's hard for a lot of people to understand, but my time is my most valuable resource. My time is my biggest asset. And if I'm going to give you my time, then it's got to be worth it. So, folks, all these hours that I'm logging in, creating these YouTube videos, know that I see you as family and we're all here together. And you are important enough to get my time because I will tell you right now, just talking to a buddy of mine yesterday, we were playing golf. And one of the things we were talking about is everybody doesn't deserve the same access to you. But that's hard to understand until you have full control of your time. But when you don't control your time, i.e., when you're working, you give it away more freely because you're so used to giving it away freely anyway. But now, because my time actually belongs to me, my time is my money. Just like my health is my wealth, my time is my money. And what do you say? He says, time is money, and at 25, I can't afford it. That's my man, Jay-Z. But my point is, time is money, and I can't afford to just give it away for free. Or as my wife would say, if you saw $5 on the ground, would you stop and pick it up? Hell yeah. The sixth one is, I thought I'd be busy, but I wasn't. And I hear a lot of people say you'll be busier in retirement than you were when you're working. And let me tell you, not at first. There was a stretch where I had more empty space than I knew what to do with. And that started to feel a little bit strange because I'd spent my whole lifetime being productive, getting after it, going and doing things. But over time, life fills in. But it's a transition, and that transition is real. It's almost like lifestyle creep when you get a raise. You get a raise, you don't feel like you got a raise because you're already buying something else. Well, that's where your time kind of fills in. Now, I had some things that I wanted to do, but I had no context for how those things were going to fill in my life. And so now my life is busy. Am I as busy as I was at work? I'm more intentional than I was at work. I'm doing more things than I was at work, more variety of things, but everything is intentional. So I don't feel busier, but I've got a lot going on, but it took time to get there. So for those of you that are used to the being productive and used to running after it, give yourself a little bit of time. The seventh thing kind of caught me by surprise is the everyday things became more meaningful. Just the simple things like my morning coffee routine, going and taking walks, walking with buddies of mine, doing my gardening, sitting quietly reading books. I hadn't read books in years. They all felt they took on a deeper meaning. And it's like life slows down enough for you to actually feel the moments that you used to rush about. It's what I call that is you have more capacity to appreciate stuff. I appreciate things more. I can see things more for what they are as opposed to what I want them to be. And I really have the ability to really process my life in a way that I didn't have time to process before because I'd go to work, be at work at 7:30, be home at 7:30. Next thing you know, it's time to eat dinner and go to bed. That's about it. I mean, I might have an hour to watch TV, but now I have all day to do it because I can choose. If I don't want to do something that day, I just don't do it. And another one that caught me, and this surprised me probably more than anything, is how little money I actually need. Once I stopped working, a lot of the work stress spending, disappeared. Spend all that money on gas to go back and forth, just to go back and forth to work. Eating lunch every day, 20, $25 for lunch, plus those dinners that I had to go to with people and all that hobnob and all that bullshit that I had to do just to save face so that way I wasn't too much of an outsider. Those convenience purposes and all my impulse post buys and buying clothes for work. I mean, I had some nice I still have nice clothes. I didn't give them all away. But all of that, it just faded. And life got a lot simpler. And it means that the money that I have, it stretches a lot further. Now I still buy stuff, but you see these YouTube videos, I'm wearing the same stuff most of the time because I'm not really worried. If you're worried about how I look or what I'm wearing, then this is probably not the channel for you. I mean, I keeping it real, but it's about the other stuff, the stuff that's more important. And the other thing that happened was that my how I related to people drastically changed. A lot of my friendships, they faded because they were work based or around the schedule of work. Some of them grew stronger because I finally have time for them, but it's a double-edged sword because I realized that I had time for some and I realized I didn't have time or didn't want to take the time for others. And then I found new ones that appeared because I was available to the world or am available to the world in a way that I wasn't before. Now I have the opportunity to sit down and talk. Now I have the opportunity to have a drink or have a lunch after a round of golf. Now I have time to just talk about life and really get to know people in a way that I didn't before. And so the friendships that I've made since I've retired have actually become some deeper relationships. And what might be the biggest one is that I feel more myself than I ever had. I don't have the pressure to perform. I don't have to be on all the time. I just start reconnecting with who I am. Who am I as a person? Who is Salvador? What makes me tick? What do I like? What do I don't like? And those are all things that I'd forgotten. So some of it is old ideas, some of it's new ideas. But it's a deeper sense of peace because I'm able to say what makes me happy. And if it doesn't make me happy, guess what? I'm not doing it. Period. End of story. And that early retirement gives you that space and that capacity to be you, not the version that your job required. And we all have to deal with it. Look, there was a sociologist, I can't think of his name, but he talked about the front stage and the backstage. We all have front stage acts that we have to plan because if I told people how I feel, go look at Dave Chappelle's When Keeping It Real Goes Wrong. If you watch that, you'll be like, yo, that's actually how I feel at work. But you can't do that. Why? Because you get fired. What happens? You get fired. What my man say? Got no money, got no car, got no woman. There you are. You end up in that situation. So we have to be what it is that we need to be. And some of us are fortunate to where we could be our authentic selves at work. But folks, it's not. So retiring at 51, it's great. Look, I would never change it for the world. Hell yeah, I'd do it again if I had another opportunity to do so. In my next life at 51, I'm out. But retiring early came with a lot of surprises. There were some emotional surprises, physical, financial, and some personal surprises. But every one of them taught me taught me something important about how I want to live the rest of my life. Now I know. So if this video gave you something to think about, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and let me know in the comments what surprised you most about early retirement. What do you think your biggest surprise will be? So thanks for watching. And remember, it's never my expectation that everybody retires early, but it is my expectation that you live your best life. So on that note, have a good rest of your day, and I will talk to you soon.